100 Grand Man podcast. I am your host, Reggie Lewis. This is the podcast where we talk sports, politics, and entertainment, mainly politics. We talk sports and entertainment when they collide. Maybe a sports figure or entertainment figure have a point of view about the political climate, uh, an event, something that happened around either in or out of this country. Before we start, I would like you to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can help this page grow. We can get our message out there. This is our Thursday show. We're a couple days out and the end of Black History Month. So this show today is a little special for me. I've been wanting to do it, but I kind of waited. It's about the politician, athlete, and the scientist. I picked three people that is not ordinary that people really probably don't even know about. I know one person I know a lot of people know about, but it's two females and one male. Uh, I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't know about these two females, but they're not your average Black History uh, people that mostly everybody would talk about. But before we start off with that, I like to get my what I've been pissed off with on my Tuesdays, on my Mondays and Thursday shows. What have been pissing me off lately, and support. It's just mind boggling. Even though I'm not the hands out type of person, whereas though I look for handouts or I want hookups or get me there faster. But it's just mind boggling how mainly and majority of your support, excuse me, comes from strangers. It's crazy. I have a sports betting Discord. I got about right now, I probably got about like 133 people in there. I say probably four of them is family and friends. Have about 40,000 followers on Instagram. I could say maybe 2% is family and friends. And the thing is, you know, you outgrow people and you outgrow situations. And sometimes it's hard to let go. And sometimes it's hard to see in people that you don't want to see in people. And the one thing I learned in growing in this environment, this political commentating environment I'm in, is that a lot of the people who I grew up with, who I'm friends with, who I'm close with, who are family members, they look at this like it's a knock or so much like, nah, I ain't beat, or like as if like I'm gonna get in trouble or you can get in trouble. No, I can't. Long as I'm not literally doing breaking any laws or breaking any laws, how can I get in trouble? It's just a niche that I've been dealing with that I always wanted to involve myself in. And I just been not too much scared what others will say, because if you ask anybody who know me, they know I really don't give two fucks about what people think about me. But I see myself sometimes trying to please others. And now that I'm in my 40s, it's like, nah, hell no. But the majority of my support be coming from total strangers. Like a lot of what I got going on and a lot of where I got to this point in my life was because of a stranger. And I'm not knocking because I love my family and I love my friends. They know I love them. But the complacency when it comes to your surroundings and where you from, it just pisses me off. And when you're trying to grow or you see life in a totally different way, and it's not even a negative way, but to them, they look at it as it is a negative way. They pay you no mind. They don't support you. They knock what you do. They criticize everything. But soon as you get to those tears, or soon as you get to those situations, handouts, put me on. Damn, you ain't got me. Oh, you on some bullshit. That type of stuff come out. But when you down there on the ground struggling and crawling, No one's around. No one's there to help you out. No one's there to give you advice. Don't nobody care. So it makes you stronger. If I know there's a lot of people out there who's probably in the same situation and probably going through the same situation as we talk about right now. Just know, keep it up and keep going. You'll get there. And that's just what's been pissing me off. But like I said, this is my Black History Month show right here. And I had three extraordinary people. And I've been wanting to do this, but it's so much like this administration gives you so much material that you could talk about. It's like, nah. So I'm here now. And what does it really take to break a barrier? It's a political power to change the law, the physical strength to shatter a world record, or it's the sheer genius of defying reality itself. Today, we're looking at three American legends who did exactly that: a politician who refused to be silenced, an athlete who turned his stardom into the weapon for justice, and a scientist who mind literally launched humanity to the stars. They fought in different eras, they fought in different arenas against different kinds of obstacles, but they all fundamentally reshaped our world. Was the ultimate barrier breaker. So, with one of who took the fight to the halls of power, the one who dominate on the field of play, or the one who conquered very frontiers of human knowledge. One of them, well, I actually got two of them on my walls. One right there, you can't see him. The guy, you can't see him, but the girl, the woman that a lot of y'all see and probably wondering like, who the hell is that lady? That's Shirley Chisholm. In 1968, America was a nation on edge. That same year, a black woman from Brooklyn named Shirley Chisholm decided to do the unthinkable. She ran for Congress. Her slogan, unbought, unbossed, and she won. Shirley Chisholm became the first African American woman ever elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. Born in Brooklyn to immigrant parents, she was told her whole life that her race and her gender were a double handicap. But Chisholm never saw it in that way. After guarding, after graduating with honors from Brooklyn College, she began her career as a teacher, seeing up close how the system was failing kids and working families. This lady she's amazing, man. And she's the first black woman seated to Congress. And when I was reading up about her, and because I wanted to know who was really the first black woman in Congress. And when I saw her, she gave me visions of my aunt. Because like I said, I'm in my 40s. So back in the day, we know that this is how the pictures used to look as little kids growing up. Yeah, I'm old. In 1964, she won a seat in the New York State Assembly where she championed unemployment benefits for domestic workers and pushed for better education funding. When she got to Washington in 1969, she was one of the only 9 black members in the House. The leadership tried to stick her on Agriculture Committee. Chisholm, representing urban Brooklyn, famously shot back. There are a lot of more veterans in my district than trees. She demanded a reassignment and got it. That was the Fighting Shirley in a nutshell. Over 7 terms in Congress, she was relentless force. She co founded the Congressional Black Caucus and the National Women's Political Caucus. She introduced over 50 pieces of legislation and helped create the WIC program. This lady is she was amazing in her era. Whereas though you gotta think about it, in the 60s, they really was not messing with women like that. So for this woman to go on and to continue to fight and not be just stuck in that kitchen having those babies, that's just amazing. Which provides food assistance for women, infants, and children. But her biggest move was yet to come. In 1972, she announced she was running for presidential of the United States. She was the first black candidate for a major party's nomination and the first woman to seek the Democratic nomination. Think about this. In 1972, we had a black woman trying to be president and won a Democratic nomination. And in 2026, they're still in the same situation. We're still they're getting put down. It's just mind boggling. The establishment laughed her off. The media ignored her. She was even blocked from television primary debates until her campaign sued. She faced death threats and was constantly underfunded. Even some of her black male colleagues told her to wait her turn. Like I said, in 2026, we're still going through the same thing. Chisholm responded was simple. She refused. She knew her campaign wasn't just about winning, it was about proving that black women belonged in that conversation. As she famously said, if I don't give you a seat at the table, bring the folding chair. She didn't win the nomination, but she earned 152 delegate votes, a symbolic victory that was echoed for generations. Shirley Chisholm didn't just break a barrier, she shattered the illusion that power in America could only have one face. Just think about it though. That's amazing. No matter how you look at it, that is amazing. Yeah, she only got 152 votes, delegate votes. You're right. But in 1972, a black woman won a Democratic nomination. That is amazing. And like I said, one of the people that I'm quite sure a lot of people did not know nothing about. Shirley Chisholm, I see you, baby. Now, this next guy is an athlete, and he's arguably the greatest football player of all time. Definitely in the top five, no matter whose list somebody put it in, he's in their top five. And he was playing in a time where, as though, arguably, I don't even think it's really arguably, it had to be the roughest time in NFL history when he played. Now, this guy was a football player, an activist, and a movie star. Before Colin Kaepernick took a knee, before Muhammad Ali refused the draft, there was Jim Brown. On the football field, he was a force of nature, a fullback for the Cleveland Browns. He was an MVP, a 9-time Pro Bowler, and by just every measure, the greatest to ever play the game at the time. He led the league in rushing 8 of his 9 seasons and retired at the absolute peak of his career, holding almost every major record. But Jim Real Power wasn't just on the gridiron. In the era where athletes were expected to be silent on social issues, like they try to still do right now as we speak, Brown was on the very first of most famous black athletes to speak out. He knew his platform was a tool for change. The defining moment came in 1967. Muhammad Ali had been stripped of his heavyweight title and was facing prison for refusing to be drafted into the Vietnam War. To stand with Ali was a massive risk. Jim Brown organized a meeting in Cleveland, bringing together the nation's top black athletes, including Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The event became as the Cleveland Summit. That's the picture I got over there on the wall that y'all can't see right now. But I've always said this. I've always said this. Like, when you have your arguments, your back and forth arguments with your boys and your constituents, who the best player, who the best running back, who the best this, that, third. I always say my favorite player of all time is Jerry Rice. Like Jerry Rice is my ultimate. That to me, that's my GOAT. But my favorite player of all time is Jim Brown. Like I love Jerry. Like to me, I like him. He's the GOAT. He's the best wide receiver, and sometimes arguably the best athlete of all time, but not even him went through that. He played football during the Jim Crow eras and stuff. He played football when he had Klansmen as his offensive lineman. This he played football at the peak of, well, I ain't gonna say the peak, but during racism. At first, some of the athletes there were there wanted to convince Ali to compromise, but after Ali spoke to them with deep conviction about his beliefs, they wanted out of an unnotified message of support. In front of the wall of cameras, these men risked their careers to stand with Ali, making a turning point for the modern athlete activists. Brown didn't stop there. He was fierce advocate for black capitalism, arguing the true power grew from economic power. In the 1960s, he founded the Black Economic Union to help support and finance black owned businesses, a radical idea at the time. A lot of people, even now, the Donalds, the Scotts, the Shermichael, whatever, Shermichaels, those like this guy literally was putting real careers in a balance, in jeopardy, to stick up for his black folk, to go against racism, to go against bigotry. And they sit on those panels defending a racist, defending somebody who they know don't like color folk. It's just mind-boggling that that is embarrassing people like this. Later in life, Brown shifted his focus to gang violence. In 1988, he founded the Ameri I Can program, focused on teaching life skills to risk youth to steer them away from violence. His most incredible work with the program came in 1992 with the Los Angeles on the Brink. Using the immense respect he commanded, Brown personally went into the heart of the conflict. He brought rival leaders of the Bloods and Crips together, sometimes in his own home, to broker peace. These efforts led to historic Watts Truths, a peace agreement that dramatically reduced violence in weeks leading up to the LA riots. Jim Brown shattered the barrier between the world of sports and the real world. He proved an athlete's greatness isn't just measured in yards and touchdowns, but in their impact off the field. Jim Brown. Jim Brown was the pinnacle of what some of these black athletes need to stand by. It's just mind-boggling how from 1968 until 2026, morals, magnificency, common sense, pride, and money changed all of that for the black man and the black athlete, the black entertainer, the black Republican, the black senator, the black governor, the black representative. All that shit went up there. They want to hide behind policies and hide behind, I'm doing it for us color folk. No, you're not. You're doing it for your goddamn self. No morals at all. Now, this next lady, amazing also. And another lady from Black History that I'm quite sure. I mean, people probably know from her because of this recent movie that they did a story about her in, that I'm quite sure if they wouldn't have never had this story, she wouldn't have even been thought about. Well, I ain't gonna say she would have been thought about, but a lot of people wouldn't know who she is. And I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't even see the movie. But after reading up on her and seeing that she actually played in this movie and her brilliance, how smart she is, and the level of respect she garners, I just had to write about her. She's a scientist back in the 50s. So you know this is old. Her name is Katherine Johnson. Before computers was machines, there were people. At at NASA's Langley Research Center in the 1950s, the most brilliant human computers were a group of African American women working in the segregated unit. Among them was a quiet prodigy from West Virginia named Katherine Johnson. Johnson's genius with numbers was obvious from the start. She began high school when she was just 10 years old. 10 years old. 10 years old. She started high school. She joined NASA's predecessor, NACA, in 1953, entering a world defined by segregation. She had to work, eat, and use restrooms separated from her white colleagues. But Katherine Johnson was in her own worlds, assertive. She just ignored the barriers, asked questions, and demanded to be in the meetings where no woman had ever been before. That's excellence. This is the 50s. Now, I was talking about Jim Brown and the Jim Crow era and all the racism and the nonsense that he went through in the 60s. And we was talking about Shirley, how she was the first, the breakthrough as in a woman Congress. Now think about NASA, a black woman in NASA in the 50s. Area 51, all that goofy shit going on. Just think about that. A black woman in the 50s started high school at the age of 10. At the age of 10, we still calling them babies. That's my baby. She's in high school around adults. You know how terrifying that is for a mother or father? When the Soviets launched Sputnik in 1957, the space race was on, and everything changed. Johnson was assigned to the Space Task Group, the team responsible for putting an American in space. A black woman was a part of that. In 1960, she co authored a report laying out the equations for orbital space lift, space flight, sorry. It was the first time a woman in her division had ever been credited as an author on a research report. In 1961, she calculated the trajectory for Alan Shepard's Freedom 7 mission, the flight that made him the first American in space, a black woman. Read it again. She calculated the trajectory for Alan Shepard's Freedom 7 mission, the flight that made him the first American in space. A black woman helped do that. But her most legendary moment came in 1962. NASA was getting ready for John Glenn's orbital mission, the first for an American. They were using a massive new IBM electronic computer to calculate the trajectory, but the astronauts didn't fully trust the machine. As part of the pre flight checklist, John Glenn made a specific request. He told the engineers to get the girl. That's special, man. To check the computer's numbers. He was talking about Katherine Johnson. Glenn said if she said the numbers were good, then he was ready for to go. For a day and a half, Johnson crunched the numbers by hand. They matched. Glenn's flight was a success, a major turning point in space race. Katherine Johnson' mind was the secret weapon behind NASA's greatest achievements. Her calculations helped sink the Apollo 11 lunar model for the moon landing and were critical of the Space Shuttle program. For 33 years, Katherine Johnson's calculations charted the path from Earth to the stars. She broke barriers for race, gender, and gravity itself, proving that genius has no color and one mind can expand the horizons of all humanity. Katherine Johnson, I see you. The 1950s. Eli Musk thank Katherine Johnson, a black woman. You see how a lot of this stuff is tying into what's going on right now? And he gets in office between him and Trump, and they lay off 300,000 black federal women in a short time in office. It's just mind boggling how they try their hardest to erase us. This was bigger than Philadelphia, him trying to get them statues and no plaques and all that shit taken off. This is bigger than that. They're trying to erase the fact that if it wasn't for colored folk, this world would not be the way it is right now. They want to take credit. They want to be so superior. We're not asking to be superior. We're asking to be treated equal. So after all that, who's your ultimate barrier breaker? Let's break it down. First, let's talk about scale up impact. Shirley Chisholm changed laws and created programs like WIC that directly affect millions of vulnerable Americans to this day. Her presidential run redrew the map for political ambition. Jim Brown's activists created a new playbook for athletes, and his America I Can program directed saved lives. But Katherine Johnson's impact as well universal. Her math was essential to landing a man on the moon, a moment that united the entire planet and stretched boundaries of what humans thought was possible. The difficulty each one faced, Chisholm fought domestic racism and sexism at the same time, battling a political machine built to keep her out. Brown faced racism on the field and government scrutiny for his activists off the field. Katherine Johnson faced not just institutional segregation, but the mind bending intellectual change of basically inventing the math of space travel as she went. Katherine Johnson basically did the Avengers. she taught Loki how to space travel, guys. Now let me stop. Let me stop. What their lasting legacy, Shirley Chisholm folding chairs philosophy is now a rally cry for anyone who feels locked out of power. Jim Brown created the blueprint for the modern athlete activist, providing a sports career can be launched for social change. And Katherine Johnson, once hidden story, now inspires millions of pursue careers in STEM. A powerful reminder that talent is everywhere if we just bother to look. Shirley broke barriers of political representation. Brown broke barriers of social expectation. Johnson broke barriers of scientific limitations. Who is the ultimate? Is one of who writes the laws that govern us on here. We Shirley Chisholm, Katherine Johnson, and Jim Brown. We salute you. We thank you. And without you playing major parts in history, not only black history, but history, think about how this world would be. Hit a like, comment, hit the notification bell. We're going to keep this page moving. And thank you. Yeah,